Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be kind of a special one. I normally make videos like this for the patrons over on Patreon, but this particular subject needs to be shared with everyone because it's such a good idea. As a matter of fact, one of my patrons, Greg, gave me this idea a couple of months ago, and I've been trying it out for a while, and you know, it works far better than my technique for setting up my sizing die. So let's do a video out in the garage. I apologize for the audio quality because it is a big echoey room. But let's talk about how best to set up the sizing die in order to take advantage of the opportunity to get that head clearance correct in your rifle, all without having to do quite so much work to get it done. Hey, welcome back. Today's video is going to be about sizing because I showed you my technique for setting the right shoulder bump for any given case in my rifle. However, that requires disassembling the bolt every time you're going to check, which becomes a touch of a burden if you're going to have to do this regularly. So one of my patrons gave me an idea. He's been doing it this way for a while and it's a good idea. So let me show you. You know, when you mount a new barrel, you need to use a headspace gauge. You need to put a go gauge in there and make sure it closes on the go gauge. I then use Scotch tape to add a little thickness to it, about 2/1000 for every piece of tape, in order to get up to the point where the bolt won't close. Well, the way my barrels are chambered, after the first piece of tape it won't close. So it's less than 2/1000 over the go gauge, and that means that anything that is the same size as the go gauge has just under 2/1000 of bump. So what we do is we measure the go gauge first, and this measures, now this is just a dial caliper so we don't get to offset. This measures currently 3.231 1/4. So now we take a fire-formed piece of brass, and this one is 3/1 even. So this already has approximately 1 to 2/1000 of clearance in the chamber because it was fire-formed at a relatively low pressure. And as you well know from the experiences of all the shooters on the internet, it takes a couple firings before these things sharpen up and get really up to the full dimension. Let's grab a different one. I've only got 370 of them over here that I just got done annealing. And this one is 3/1 1/4, right at the go gauge. So these are already at the proper dimension. I don't need to push the shoulder back any further because they already have clearance in the chamber. They're still going to chamber easily. So what do? We size them and see if they aren't exactly the same as the headspace gauge when we're done, and then we adjust from there. My sizing die already set up. We're just going to compare to make sure that we're getting what we should. So we go all the way down and we just hold it. This tube leads down to a little piece of DW pipe that's sitting in a toilet flange upside down on top of the floor. It makes a good catcher for primers. I just have a very narrow cylindrical garbage can here, and it just keeps the area neat and tidy as I'm working. So pull this guy back out after a few seconds and let's give it a measure. And we end up with 305, which means we're just about dead on the money for our headspace, and we didn't oversize the case. So guys, if you're going to size cases on a new barrel or when you're first sizing new brass, don't push the shoulder back 2/1000 arbitrarily. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Pushing the shoulder back 2/1000 arbitrarily will set you up for failure later because you're going to stretch those cases. You're going to end up with case head separations a lot earlier in the life of the case than it would be if you did it at the full dimension of the chamber from the very beginning. So in summary, just simply using your headspace go gauge as a standard for measuring your cases against when you're sizing is, in my opinion, the best way to do this. This prevents you from making those mistakes that tend to overstretch your cases and cause them to fail prematurely with incipient head separations, which I've done to myself recently. So guys, using a standard for your sizing every single time you're sizing is a good idea. Don't be like me. Don't throw away a bunch of money in brass because you did something silly like use the wrong shell holder out of your competition shell holder set. So guys, until next time, shoot straight, careful sizing, and I'll see you in the next video.